The last time we met, we covered Vajra Statements 19 and 20 of chapter 5, the chapter on the secret mantra training, secret mantra level of vows. So today we're going to look at statement 21. Statement 21 says, in secret mantra, discipline is indispensable. So here, the first reference for discipline, its first reference is it's referring to the individual liberation vows, the discipline of that is taught, the discipline that is most clearly taught and laid out in the individual liberation vows. So the individual liberation vows, the basis of all the levels of vows in the individual liberation is the 5 lay vows, the so-called 5 lay vows. From those 5 lay vows, which are universal vows, then there are more and more refined levels of vows that develops from those 5 individual liberation vows for the laity. As Khenpo Rinpoche emphasizes, these 5 vows, they are beyond religion. They are beyond philosophy, they are beyond religion. They are simply guidelines that the Buddha gave that will protect us from creating the causes of suffering if we keep these guidelines, if we keep these 5 lay vows. Then from these 5 lay vows, more and more refined vows were formulated by the Buddha based on what he saw to be the way things are. And so think of these vows as almost like the different types of insurance that you can purchase for your car, let's say, for your vehicle. So in order for you to be able to legally drive, most countries have a minimum level of insurance that they require you to buy. So that is like the basic insurance. Some places even have more basic than basic insurance, which is you pay the government a certain fee. So this is in case when you have an accident and you have damaged someone else's property, someone can pay for that. So you have to buy basic insurance. Now, don't think, oh, I bought basic insurance. That means, bad things won't happen to me. Don't think that, oh, because I bought what we call collision, right? Then I'm covered for collision, meaning if I damage someone else's property, then my insurance will pay to repair that person's property. What about, oh, does that mean if I damage someone else's property, my property will not be damaged, my vehicle will not be damaged? No, it will be damaged, but no one will help you fix that one. Your insurance doesn't cover that. So likewise, if we only took one of the 5 lay vows, and make a commitment to keep that, right? It doesn't mean, when you act in ways that violate the principles of those vows, there are no consequences. Oh, there are consequences. You are just not covered. So the more you develop the understanding and the capacity and the appreciation of these vows, the more covered you are. So here, this discipline here that is said to be indispensable for secret mantra practice primarily is talking about the discipline that is taught in the individual liberation vows in that context. Then more specifically, it's talking about the fullest and most complete range of insurance you can get, which is the fully ordained monks or nuns vows. They provide full coverage, so to say. Now, this statement is was made by Kyobpa in response to those who say, "Oh, I'm at a higher level of practice," meaning I'm now at the secret mantra level of practice. In fact, I'm practiced the unexcelled yoga tantra level. So at this level, I can do anything. You might even cite stories of Mahasiddhas acting outrageously. You might even think, now I can practice, I can emulate crazy wisdom. So everything is permitted now. Things that at the lower levels I should avoid, now I can go do them. Because somehow magically secret mantra will take care of the problems. So this was that view that existed during Kyobpa's time. And Kyobpa Rinpoche, to rectify this view, said, in secret mantra, discipline is indispensable. So discipline, in fact, this individual liberation vows, this pratimoksha, sometimes is translated as ethical conduct. Yeah, ethics. What in the West we call ethics. Yes, certainly, the pratimoksha training, the individual liberation vow training, is about being ethical. It's about having a clear conscience of not causing harm. Yes, at the root of that is not causing harm. But not just not causing harm in the obvious way, in the gross level, but also these vows protect us from causing harm also on a subtle level. And this is where it goes beyond ethics. What do I mean by it goes beyond ethics? That it goes beyond what we might call ethics or what some might call morality. It goes beyond that because even more subtle is talking about being disciplined. Meaning, body, speech, and mind are being trained to not be unruly. To really discipline body, speech, and mind so that none of them are unruly, especially the mind. Because an unruly mind eventually produces unruly speech and unruly actions. An unruly mind is basically a mind that is all over the place. So if the mind is all over the place, if the mind is unruly, then there is no possibility of shamatha developing. So that's why, in the full coverage plan, the full monastic vow plan, there are many do's and don'ts. And one purpose of those do's and don'ts is not just about the explicit harm that you might cause if you do them, but it's also about refining the mind, taming the mind, so that it doesn't become unruly. So it has things like, for example, it says, monks and nuns, it says, should not simultaneously talk and eat. And so it has a rule like this, that you should not simultaneously talk and eat, because that is a sign of an unruly mind. Now, we're not saying, you have to keep this in a kind of tight way. Oh, I have a vow, I cannot talk while I eat. So someone comes and asks you a question, you're like, you also want to pay attention to context. This is my personal opinion. There can be differences in these kinds of opinions. So I'm offering you my personal opinion at this point. I think if it is understood, right, we are all here and we understand, yes, it's better not to talk when we eat. Then we maintain that discipline. Especially if we're in a retreat context, we're in the context of a monastery, we're in a context whereby that's the established norm, that meal times are done in silence. Then we see that as an opportunity to really kind of keep the mind disciplined. Then when we're outside, if we happen to be eating, for most of us, we're outside or we're with other people who don't understand, why you should not talk and eat, then we should not, especially for those of us who are lay people, I don't think, you want to get so insistent. Suddenly you announce to your family, from now on, I cannot talk when I eat. All of you don't talk to me. No, I think that would be misguided. To kind of make a fuss, in other words. Don't ever practice these teachings, by making a big fuss, because then it's more about our ego, us wanting to show people our new identity. I'm Buddhist now, and we do things all differently, and you all have to adjust your way of relating to me because I'm different now. Not like that, yeah. I've also heard His Holiness, the Drikung Dharmakirti, advising the monks and nuns before they go to the West. He says, yes, in our monastic discipline, it is a sign of a disciplined mind. It's a way to train our mind by not talking when we eat. He says, and in the monastery, we do encourage that. Although even in monastery, people do chit-chat when they eat, more lax attitude. But he says, although we hold that as an ideal, he says, but now if you're going to the West now, please do pay attention that sometimes in the West, people consider it very rude. If people invite you for a meal and all you do is just eat and not talk. Because he says, in the West, people will misunderstand and think, you're so greedy. Did you not eat for a week? Can't even talk to people and so focus on just eating. Yeah. So the point really also is not to rigidly adhere, but to always come back to saying, these rules of training that the Buddha gave, it is all for the purposes of disciplining body, speech, and mind. And ultimately to give the best possible conditions for the mind to settle evenly. When the mind begins to settle, when the heart and the mind begins to settle evenly in all situations, in all conditions, then the circumstance for the arising of clear seeing, what we call insight, what we call vipassana, becomes more and more likely, more and more possible. And that's what discipline is for. Beyond the fact of don't harm others, which is the other side of these vows. Don't cause harm to others. Don't cause harm to yourself. So if you, now let's look at Khenpo Kunpal's commentary. Thus, to attain the level of Vajradhara in one lifetime, which is the promise of secret mantra practice, that you can achieve the level of Vajradhara in this very lifetime. So to attain that, you must abandon all faults and accomplish all qualities. And how in the world are we ever going to abandon all faults and accomplish all good qualities? Solely through precious discipline. If you have no appreciation for the role of discipline, then it will be impossible to abandon all faults and accomplish all good qualities. Therefore, in the system of secret mantra, Vajrayana, a completely pure discipline is indispensable and cannot be omitted. It is said in the Vajra Tantra, first one should give the 24-hour vows to disciples. So even beginning with just giving the vows for the vows that disciples promise to keep for 24 hours, that is better than not giving any vows. Even if we just resolve to say, okay, I'm going to keep these 5 lay vows for 24 hours, that's much better than saying, oh, I'm not going to take those vows because I cannot keep them. If I break them, that's even worse. In the Drikung tradition, we say, no, that's not actually worse. In fact, if you take the vows, that offers the protection of regret when you see yourself breaking those vows. And this is skillful regret to have, because it will remind us that is not skillful action. If we don't have the vows, then we think, oh, I never took the vow not to drink alcohol. So that means alcohol have no negative effect on me? No, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that. Oh, I never took the vow not to steal, so don't look at me when I'm stealing and judge me. I never took the vow not to steal. Whether you took or you did not take, stealing is unskillful. But if you have taken the vow, then that will remind more clearly. So that when you find yourself in circumstances either out of lack of mindfulness, you took that which wasn't given to you explicitly, then you at least remember, oh, that was not mindful. Yeah, I took something that wasn't given to me. Or in situations where you're so desperate, no choice, you feel you have to steal. Yes, there are many extenuating circumstances that might cause that to happen. Like people who have to steal, who feel that they have no other recourse but to steal in order to put food on the table for their family. Some people have those circumstances and situations. But if they have taken the vow, at least they remember, actually, this is not skillful. This is not wholesome. This is not virtuous. But I will purify this. So that's the power of these vows. And it is said in the Kalachakra Tantra that there are superior, middling, and lower Vajra masters. It is said in the Vajra Peak Tantra to be endowed with the three vows, those of the individual liberation and bodhisattvas, and the pledges of mantrayana of awareness masters, is the foremost purification for yogis. So here, Vajra Peak Tantra says, Vajra Shekhara Tantra says, having all three vows is the best way for yogis. Yogis, the Tibetan translation is Nel Jor. Nel is like, the etymology of that is like the natural state, related to the natural state. Jor is to kind of be in and to enjoy, in that sense of being in that most natural state, which means those who practice to achieve Buddhahood. It is said in the Tantra requested by Subahu, from the entire Vinaya of pure discipline of the individual liberation system, that I, the victorious one, have taught, the Buddha speaking here, the householder mantrayana practitioner should abandon the signs and rituals of ordained ones. The rest they should practice. So this quote is something that Kyobpa Rinpoche would highlight this quote. So basically, what this quote is saying is, in fact, when it comes to if we are practitioners of secret mantra, then not only do we need to have disciplined conduct from the individual liberation vow system. In fact, if you want to be a serious practitioner of secret mantra, then your attitude towards the entire range of training given in the individual liberation system, from lay to monastic, in fact, you should develop the understanding, you should develop the appreciation that actually, other than not keeping the external signs of a monastic full-time, meaning shaved head, wearing the robes, those external signs, and going through the rituals of taking those vows, other than that, you should strive for your own conduct to be as close as possible to that of a monk or nun who observes their training carefully. So in terms of what needs to be observed, equally, you should strive for that. Again, in a skillful way, okay? Don't artificially try to force yourself and say, oh, now I should go read about the monks and nuns discipline, and then, cause panic to yourself. Oh, I got to keep all these things. No, begin, now my personal opinion, begin with the spirit of that way of life. Kind of let your mind, discover the attraction of that particular way of life, and let your mind kind of turn towards that, so that with or without, and in our cases, without going through the ritual, without wearing the robes, without the external signs of a monastic, we can conduct ourselves in a way that is more in line, in sync with that. Because what does that really mean? What that means is we are more and more aware of the beauty of disciplined conduct. The beauty in terms of protecting ourselves and protecting others. Does that make sense? Yeah. This should not be, kind of understood or done in a dogmatic way, in my opinion, right? Again, my personal opinion here. It should not be done in a rigid, dogmatic way. Like, I have to follow all the rules now, which then you find that you cannot. And then you end up with a lot of guilt. And then you start hiding from us, from practitioners, from Dharma. And then all of it will backfire. Don't make that mistake either. Anyway, going on. It is said in the Sutra of the Three Trainings that based on discipline, meditative concentration arises, and based on meditative concentration, wisdom arises. So here it's showing, how the importance of disciplined conduct. If our conduct lacks discipline, very hard for calm abiding to arise. Even if we train, even if we adopt all the techniques for shamatha, and we want to, achieve higher and higher levels of shamatha, it's impossible if we don't begin with disciplined conduct, with an appreciation towards disciplined conduct. Then shamatha can arise more easily. Then when shamatha becomes more and more natural, then clear seeing becomes more and more possible. It is said in the Manjushri Root Tantra, the Buddha did not say that someone with distorted discipline will accomplish mantrayana practice. Distorted discipline is not the area and direction to go to the city of nirvana. I mean, this quote, you might think, don't we, like you need a quote for this? Well, actually, apparently, yes, because there are some very wild people, Actually, you just go on Google and look a little bit, and you'll find all kinds of supposed Vajrayana practitioners. They're acting in ways that are really unruly, And then they say, wow, that's crazy wisdom. That's my way of showing people, the reality, the truth, and on and on and on, things like that. Acting outrageously. And they think, now I'm a Vidyadhara mantra holder. It is said in the King of Meditative Concentration Sutra, the Samadhi Raja Sutra. By the way, the current Khenchen, so Khenchen, actually, who we just met, who many of you just met, Khenchen Rinpoche, he is the retired official Kenshin of the lineage. Drikung Kagyo lineage, at any given time in this modern period, has this title Kenshin. Actually, in the past, in Drikung Kagyo, the lamas that we now call Khenpos, in the past, before exile, we did not use the title Khenpo in this way. Drikung Kagyo. Drikung Kagyo, before exile, the title Khenpo is only given to, I think, at most 2 people in the lineage. They are what we today call Kenshin. After coming into exile, Drikung Kagyo kind of adopted what they do in Karma Kagyo, in Nyingma, in Sakya, where the professors, the Doctor of Divinity, as we would say, the ones who have Doctor of Divinity degree and are appointed to teach, are given the title Khenpo. So now we have many, many Khenpos. As long as they finish their academic studies in the seminary, and then some other requirements, like in the West, you write you finish all your coursework, you write your PhD, you pass your PhD, then you are given Doctor of Divinity. So now Khenpo. So anyway, the current Kenshin Nyingma Gyaltsen, is going to start teaching this sutra, the Samadhi Raja Sutra, organized by the Drikung Kagyo Center in Sweden. So there's registration information. If you look around on Facebook, you should be able to find it. It will start, I think, May 28, 29, and it's translated into 4 or 5 languages, including Spanish, Chinese, English. Kenshin Nyingma Gyaltsen will teach in Tibetan. Anyway, speaking of this sutra, so this sutra is an important sutra, often quoted in Mahamudra traditions, and quoted by Gampopa and so on. So it says in this Samadhi Raja Sutra, someone with distorted discipline goes to the lower realms. Even a lord of studies cannot save him. So, having a lot of knowledge is not going to protect you from the lower realms. Having disciplined conduct is what is going to protect you from the lower realms. When we read something like, someone with distorted discipline goes to the lower realms, especially those of us who come from a theistic background, you should try to not, somehow in the back of your mind think that this is, why are you going to a lower realm? Because you are being punished for being bad. That is the God-based system, which then gets transferred to a parent. Your parents is supreme way of being raised, Then you're terrorized by that idea, Like, I don't know what I did, but, I've been punished, You've been punished, you have been bad, you are going to the lower realms, right? No. Someone with distorted discipline goes to the lower realms. Why? Because what a distorted discipline is a mind that has habituated these causes of suffering. A mind that has become very familiar and very, you could say, addicted to the causes of suffering. So this mind has basically created the reality of the lower realms. A hateful mind, a resentful mind creates the reality of the hell realms. So what other choice is there for this mind but to experience that reality that it has created. Yeah, so this is how it actually happens. Not because, someone decides, oh, you should be punished for being bad. And it is said, from another text, whoever is ordained but has not become a vessel of good qualities, who has shaved his head and beard but has not engaged in the ways of monastic practitioners, such a person is not a monastic and not even a householder practitioner. Such a person is like a well without water or a drawing of a butter lamp, meaning the drawing of a butter lamp, cannot brighten a room. Thus, we rely on scriptures that are free from the three types of contradiction, establish the foundation of the completely pure individual liberation vows, set up the structure with the bodhisattva vows, and erect a pointy roof with the secret mantra. It is very crucial that we put the three vows into practice without contradictions. So Khenpo Kunpal says, these three levels of the vows are like the three parts of a single building. The roof, the pointy roof, the highest part is the secret mantra part. The main structure is the bodhisattva vows part. And the very foundation that makes all of this possible is the disciplined conduct of individual liberation. In Rinchen Changchup's discussion, where he links, certain statements in the main 7 chapters with statements found in the extra chapter, which is chapter 5, he has 2 statements, chapter 8, he has 2 statements from chapter 8 that he says, when we read Vajra Statement 21 of chapter 5, we should also look at Vajra Statement 838 and 839. So if you all have this book, it's on page 37. I'm going to read from the top of page 37 if you have this book. The 21st Vajra Statement, 521, in the secret mantra, discipline is indispensable. This statement should be combined with the 2 supplemental statements, 838, that says, the gradual path of the Vajrayana is the 3 trainings. And 839, the 6 transcendent practices are the path for all the 3 vehicles. So the 3 trainings, which is the training in disciplined conduct, the training in meditative concentration, and the training in wisdom, Shila, Samadhi, and Prajna. So Shila, Samadhi, and Prajna, or Prajna, often, these 3 trainings are found in the individual liberation tradition. So which has then led some people into thinking, oh, that is just about individual liberation. But here, no. Kyobpa Rinpoche says, in fact, the systematic way of practicing Vajrayana is basically the practice of the 3 trainings. Training in disciplined conduct, which then provides that foundation for meditative concentration to become more and more natural, which then becomes the basis for acquiring wisdom. What else is there? So even in the Vajrayana, these 3 trainings are what we are actually practicing. Then furthermore, 839, the 6 transcendent practices, meaning the paramitas, the paramita of giving, the paramita of disciplined conduct, the paramita of patience, the paramita of diligence, the paramita of meditative concentration, and the paramita of wisdom. So these 6 parameters of the Bodhisattva path, they are to be practiced whether you follow the lesser vehicle of the hearers or the vehicle of the solitary Buddhas or the vehicle of the Bodhisattvas. So this statement, 839, some will object and say, wait, the 6 parameters I thought is only practiced by the greater vehicle Bodhisattvas. What do you mean that the lesser vehicle hearers and solitary realizers also practice the 6 parameters? Again, this is the unique view of Jigten Sumgon. Jigten Sumgon says, actually, no, they still practice the 6 perfections, just not explicitly. Not so clearly and explicitly. Because if there is a practitioner of the who is aiming for the hearer goal or the solitary realizer goal, if they do not practice giving, it's impossible that they will even achieve those goals that they're looking for. If they don't practice disciplined conduct, if they don't practice patience, if they don't cultivate effort, joyful effort, if they don't cultivate meditative concentration, and if they don't cultivate wisdom, how can they achieve the state of Sravaka Buddha, hearer Buddha? How can they achieve the state of a solitary realized Buddha? Impossible. It's just that they don't practice the 6 parameters in an explicit way and in the fullest extent of the 6 parameters. Nonetheless, they are still practicing the 6 parameters, not in the fullest extent, which is the definition of practicing in the great vehicle. So this addresses how in the individual liberation vows, it's also the practice of the 6 parameters. Then in secret mantra, again, because sometimes the Mahayana path is divided into what's called the perfection vehicle and the secret mantra vehicle. I'm sure you've come across that. But because of dividing things like this, and the Buddha did sometimes talk about the differences between teachings as, these are the perfection vehicle teachings and these are the secret mantra vehicle teachings. Then because of this division, some people make the error, of like, if I'm practicing secret mantra, the practice of the 6 perfections, that's not mine, because my way is the secret mantra way. So Kyobpa here says, with 839, no. What is entailed in the practice, in the cultivating of secret mantra practices, is none other than the 6 parameters. So in other words, what are we practicing? Whether you say, I am a secret mantra practitioner, or I'm a bodhisattva practitioner, or I'm an individual liberation vow practitioner, we cultivate the 10 virtues, we avoid the 10 non-virtues. Now I'm using individual liberation vocabulary. Now, if I want to use bodhisattva vocabulary, then I will say we practice the 6 parameters. And if I want to use secret mantra vocabulary, I would say now we practice the creation and completion stages. If I want to use Mahamudra vocabulary, then I would say now we practice Mahamudra. What is the practice of Mahamudra? In individual liberation vow vocabulary, cultivate the 10 virtues, give up the 10 non-virtues. In Bodhisattva path vocabulary, perfect the 6 paramitas. Yeah, you see how Kyobpa, his emphasis. That it's all one complete system to awakening. The 84,000 dharmas, elsewhere it says, another Vajra statement, important Vajra statement, the 84,000 dharmas, the whole range of the Buddha's teachings weren't given as 84,000 choices, but rather were given as the 84,000 aspects that cover the entire range, forming a single path towards the goal of Buddhahood. So in this comprehensive way of understanding all the different teachings and practices, the more we can see how this constitutes a single path, then the less we need to get distracted, confused, panic. But here it says this, but here it says that. Which one is the one for me? Then you feel like you're constantly searching for the one that is best for me, the one that is best for me, the one that is best for me. Then you will never find. But this approach of seeing all 84,000 as relevant to me stops us from, but maybe I should do this, but maybe I should do that. No, whatever we are practicing in this moment, that is the practice. That is the best practice. So don't hear chant, oh, but they say medicine Buddha is really powerful. Oh, but they say Mahamudra, just resting in the state of natural state, excels all mantra recitation. Okay, now quiet. Then you just go, you're like letting all these different things fight with each other, unnecessarily. Unnecessarily. And then as you're exposed to more different ways of practicing Mahamudra, you might go, oh, wait, just natural state like this doesn't work. Oh, maybe I should do the 5-fold now. Oh, I will cultivate bodhicitta. Now I cultivate idam. Again, oh, idam, which one? You waste so much energy, looking for the one that will make you complete. Remember my favorite terrible phrase? The worst thing that Hollywood ever sent out into the world. You complete me. Yeah. Then we even bring this attitude into our Dharma practice, There will be some practice that will complete me. Oh, yes, finally I have arrived. Yeah, for about 2 weeks, Then you go wandering around again. Never settled. Don't make this mistake, 30 years later, 40 years later, you're still, where is that one practice that will solve all my problems, Okay, now let's do dedication. If you have this opening and dedication text, it's page 10 for the opening and dedication that we prepared for this Monday to Friday class. If you have the longer opening and dedication, it's at the end. Jigten Sumgon's dedication prayer. Sublime, precious, venerable, and glorious root and lineage gurus, assembly of Idam deities, Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas dwelling in the 10 directions, and all assemblies of Viras, Viranis, Yoginis, and Dakinis, please heed me. May the virtues collected in the 3 times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana, and the inherent root of virtue not result in the 8 worldly dharmas, the 4 causes of samsara, and the resultant states of hearers and solitary realizers, and may all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, particularly those enemies who hate us, obstruct us, who harm, those who create obstacles, Maras who mislead, and their Mara retinues, have happiness, be separated from suffering, and quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, and precious Bodhi. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may we benefit sentient beings with body, speech, and mind. May the afflicted thoughts of attachment, aversion, ignorance, pride, and jealousy not arise in my mind stream. May thoughts of name, fame, gain, respect, and so forth in this life not arise for even a moment. With my mind stream moistened by love, compassion, and bodhicitta, may I come under the care of virtuous spiritual friends, and having become as limitless as space, may I achieve the supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life. By the virtues collected in the 3 times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious Bodhi. Okay, thank you everyone for participating.